are now online. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the second day of our conference in honor of Silvin Košak. We start our session with a paper by Metka Furlan. She is Professor of Indo-European Comparative Linguistics here at the Ljubljana University. And she's focused on Slovenian, Slavic and Hittite from the point of Indo-European comparative linguistics. And our second speaker is Luka Brenko. He is a research assistant at the Department of Comparative and General Linguistics here in Ljubljana also. And they will speak about some interesting aspects of Silvin Košak's life. Thank you.
Thank you for your interpretation of me and Luka, and we dedicate this contribution to our compatriot Silvin Košak, who passed away last year, and whose immense desire for professional development drove him from his homeland out into the wild world. All of us that knew him will remember him as a tireless co-worker and a noble colleague who spent years laying important foundations for the high-quality philological analysis of Hittite language with great dedication, while generously sharing his extensive knowledge with various scholars of all ages across the globe. Silvin Košak was born in 1942 in Maribor as Henrik Silvin, as his parents, Daniela and Henrik, decided to call him. Precisely 29 years before that, the well-known Hittitologist Heinz Korošec was born in the same town known at the time as Maribor and Kralj. He attended primary school in Ljubljana, where he also completed the initial years of the classical secondary school. In 1955, he transferred to Maribor, where he graduated in 1960. The Slavic comparatist Franz Miklasić and the Indo-European comparatist Kralj also attended the same classical secondary school before him. Oštir was the first Slovenian scholar to mention the languages of Hittites, Lydians, Lycians and Carians in his 1990 doctoral dissertation Herkunft der niederländischen landvokalischen Intransitivs. Unfortunately, news about Grozny's finding had not yet reached him, and so he did not yet identify these languages as Indo-European, but as belonging to the then still current substrate Alarodian language group. Many years later, Oštir explained the importance of Hittite for comparative studies to Jan Košak as being at least as essential for a linguist as water and air. Košak's study of Indo-European comparative linguistics and archaeology at the Ljubljana Faculty of Arts was influenced by Bojan Čop and Viktor Korošec, who were the only ones in Slovenia at the time that studied Hittite language and culture. Viktor Korošec focused on ancient Near Eastern cuneiform legal codices and hence also on Hittite along with Sumerian and Akkadian. He published a number of works on the subject, including hetithische Staatsverträge and Keilschrifttafeln, achieving international renown in these fields. As a comparatist, Bojan Čop was primarily interested in the Indo-European heritage in Hittite as well as cuneiform Luwian, which is why his extensive body of work on Hittitology focused on diachronic issues. In a series of articles titled hetitischen which were published in our Linguistica in 1960, 1960s, he improved the methodology for studying the historical phonetics of Anatolian cuneiform languages by clearly demonstrating that their phonetic development depended on accent position and vowel quality and quantity. Since 1994, a law explaining the occurrence of the Proto-Indo-European sequences of accented short E plus consonant in cuneiform Lubian bears Čop's name. Košak's narrow specialization in hethitology was influenced by his archaeology professors Josip Korošec and Jože Kastelic, who kept me supplied with books on the archaeology of the ancient Near East, as Košak wrote in 1994. After earning his bachelor's degree in 1966, Košak spent his summer studying etruscology in Perugia with Massimo Pallottino and in Vienna with Ambrose Fific. Between 1967 and 1969, he specialized in Hittitology in Marburg with Heinrich Ottmann. It was there that he met Aaron Kempinski, with whom collaborated professionally and also co-authored several works. He furthered his studies of Sumerian and Akkadian with Gerd Steiner at Lyceum with Günther Neumann in Gießen. Between 1973 and 1975, he studied at the University of Oxford under Oliver Gurney as a British Council and Boris Kidrich Fund Fellow, also using the time to collect literature for his doctoral dissertation. In 1969, Košak started working as Bojan Čop's assistant, a then newly established chair for ancient Near Eastern studies, which has been set up especially for Košak as a part of the Department of Comparative Linguistics. He published the Slovenian volume Kralj, boja, the King of Battle, which at the time was one of the few general audience publications in the world featuring text translated directly from a Hittite original. His interest in onomastics, which was most likely inspired by his work on his doctoral dissertation, is reflected in his Odzadni slovar hetitskih imen, the revised dictionary of Hittite names published in 1974. In 1975, he defended his doctoral dissertation Geografski in politični položaj arzovskih dežel, the geographical and political situation of the Arzava lands, in front of a committee composed of Bojan Čop, Jože Kastelic, and Radoslav Katičić. In the dissertation, Košak thanked Heinrich Ottmann for helping him select his dissertation topic and drawing his attention to yet unpublished text. However, after earning his PhD in Ljubljana, the unexpected happened. As long-standing head of the Department of Comparative Linguistics, Bojan Čop carefully planned the department development and in this way anticipated that after completing his doctoral program, Košak would be responsible for Hittite alongside Sumerian and Akkadian studies. However, Košak decided to pursue a different path. His desire for better working conditions led him abroad. This was a great loss for the department and a tremendous shock to Bojan Čop, whose plan suddenly went to pieces. Abroad, Košak made his dream come true, becoming one of the best-known Hittitologists of his time. After spending his initial years still searching, he finally settled on Hittitology, following his first Slovenian teachers. The important stops of his life and career abroad included Chicago, Changchun, and Mainz. Between 1998 1980 and 1985, he worked as an assistant in the Oriental Institute for the University of Chicago and was under the guidance of Erich Hofner and Hans Wittenberg involved in preparing the entries for the Chicago Hittite Dictionary. During that time, he also wrote his postdoctoral thesis on Hittite inventory text, which he submitted in Ljubljana and which was published in 1982. In 1985, he accepted Heinrich Houghton's invitation to join the Hittitology studies at the Academy of Sciences and Literature in Mainz. Between 1986 and 1987, at Houghton's proposal, he helped introduce Hittitology at the Institute for the History of Ancient Civilization in Changchun and the first visiting professor. After that, finally settled down in Mainz, where he began to work on Concordance of Hittite Cuneiform tablets. He worked for the Academy until his retirement in 2007, and he continued his work tirelessly until only a few days after his 80th birthday, when he passed away after a brief but serious illness.
Those that witnessed Košak's sudden departure abroad regretted his decision, but also respected it. Slovenian scholarship recognized Košak's ascent among the world's best Hittitology specialists in 2009, when he was named a corresponding member of the Slovenian Academy of Sciences and Arts. For Košak's 65th birthday, over 60 scholars from around the world expressed their respect and gratitude for his contributions to the field by contributing to the extensive volume Tabularia Heteorum, edited by Detlef Brodek and Marina Zorman, published in 2007. The contributions cover a variety of topics, from purely linguistic to philological and historical issues in Hittitology, showing that Košak's contribution to Hittitology was appreciated by researchers from a wide array of fields. A former student at the Ljubljana Department of Comparative Linguistics, Andrej Perlich, compiled Košak's bibliography for the volume. Silvin Košak has left behind an extensive scholarly oeuvre. The focal point of his analysis of primary Hittite sources was the examination of Hittite history, the chronology, organization, and political structure of the Hittite state. By performing work of this kind, he successfully combined two of his great interests that he had already devoted himself to in Ljubljana: Hittite philology and archaeology. The crowning achievement of Košak's extensive scholarly work is undoubtedly the project Concordance the hetitischen Keilschrifttafeln, which he worked on for several decades. Through this project, he put Annelies Kamenhuber's 1979 postulate into practice, and with a systematic approach and philological precision, studied the fragmentarily preserved collection of Hittite tablets, seeking to reconstruct their original condition as much as possible, initially from the four major libraries in Hattusa, and later also from other archaeological sites. This was extremely demanding work, indispensable for the development of Hittitology as a whole. It has been established that he made over 2,000 joint sketches. Between 1992 and 2001, 4 printed books were published, and since then, the project has been carried out partly in print form, but mainly in digital form, which, in view of the constant advances in Hittitology, facilitates quick updates and provides faster access to users. Did Silvin Košak ever regret leaving Ljubljana? Surely not. Outside Slovenia, he won professional respect and renown, and he experienced happiness in personal life. Even though he spent most of his adult life abroad, he never forgot his home country. In the year 2000, he generously donated his extensive collection of books on Hittitology and ancient Near Eastern studies to his former university department. Was this his way of symbolically making amends for the great gap he left behind in the 1970s when he suddenly left? Perhaps. However, he must have also known that by making this donation, he gave Hittite studies in Ljubljana at least part of what drove him abroad back in the day, an extensive and exhaustive array of sources which provide the basis for learning, teaching, and conducting research in these disciplines. Košak's extensive corpus, the central part of which was transported to Ljubljana by our librarian Anna Mekle, included 905 books and periodicals and almost 3,000 offprints. However, his commitment to the department did not end with that. In the following years, he continued to diligently add to the library. He was preparing his last shipment of books only a month before he sadly passed away. His library has gradually grown to include 1,400 volumes and periodicals as well as other material. At the library of the Department of Comparative and General Linguistics too, his collection remains in the form of a complete unit. His books, nearly all of which are furnished with a distinctive ex libris in the form of a genius of karatepe, a stamp with his name in Chinese characters, or featuring a crocodile with a pipe. These books thus form a complete whole. The key is that in addition to seminal works on Hittitology covering both philology, such as editions of Hittite texts, treatises on their dating and so on, and linguistics covering etymology, historical phonetics, morphology, and more, his library also contains all the collections of cuneiform sources that form the basis for exploring the Hittite written word. In addition to other Anatolian languages, the archaeology of Anatolia, and works on Indo-European, a major portion of his library is dedicated to the history and archaeology of the ancient Near East, as well as languages relevant for Hittite studies: Sumerian, Akkadian, Syrian and Babylonian, Hurrian, Proto-Hattic, Egyptian. A special part of his library also reflects his interest in the Etruscans. However, the library material constitutes only one aspect of Košak's donation. His collection also includes his own notes, transliterations of selected texts, and drafts for dictionary articles. In addition, an inseparable and invaluable feature of his library are also his numerous annotations inside the books themselves, which demonstrate his extensive expertise and detailed knowledge of the academic literature. A true treasure trove, however, are his collections of editions of cuneiform tablets with inserted transliterations, photos, an abundance of cut out and pasted together tablet copies, joint sketches, clearly showing the process through which his renowned Konkordanz was created. A particularly human touch in his library is reflected in the numerous personal dedications and enclosed letters in many books and articles that he received from the authors themselves, and which show how connected he was to the others in the academic community and how valued he was across the entire spectrum of his work. In early 2022, Košak's collection was moved to the very center of the library of the Department of Comparative and General Linguistics, as Košak himself was aware, where students use it extensively as part of their Hittite classes. Another fact that testifies to its importance is that in 2008, the archaeology student Michał Kunstel made it the topic of his undergraduate thesis, Knižnica Silvina Košaka in njen pomen za slovensko arheologijo, Silvin Košak's library and its importance for Slovenian archaeology. Silvin Košak donated his library to the department because he wanted to give its students the opportunity to pursue the kind of studies that he had once also wanted to pursue himself. His donation, therefore, also obliges us to continue to develop the study of Hittitology in our and his foreign milieu. His comprehensive corpus of books, offprints, and other material on Hittitology and ancient Near Eastern studies remains an invaluable contribution to Hittite studies in Slovenia, and as a whole represents not only a comprehensive source of knowledge and a thorough overview of the discipline, but also the man who built up this collection. The many annotations in the books, the enclosed copies, the dedications, and the written correspondence will continue to reveal to future generations the mind of a man who touched many with his knowledge, and above all with his weaving of human bonds. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this overview, for this retrospect over Silvin Košak's life and way as a scholar. I think it's also a good start to think about how you can keep or attract eminent scholars also on smaller universities, which is, I think, also important for the distribution of excellency over the continent, and what might have made him really leave. Mainz is not, I mean, beyond the Hethitologie unit, the hetithische Forschung, which were built up, ended there. It's maybe as attractive as Ljubljana or the other way around. So it's other values which one should consider, and everybody should ask himself what is attractive in a city and at a university, a place where people come together. I think this is. Thank you very much for this contribution.